Hello, my name is Jessica Hudson, and I teach composition courses at Northern Michigan University. I'm going to take you through this writing workshop that I've created called Avatar: The Last Reviser. So this workshop is based on the children's TV show called Avatar: The Last Airbender. And if you haven't seen the show, you can watch the opening introduction to it on YouTube. But all you really need to know for the purposes of this workshop are the four elements that the show focuses on. So there's water, earth, fire, and air. And these are going to be the main metaphors for this writing workshop, and I'll explain more about them as we go along. For this workshop, you'll be working in groups of 4. The first thing you want to do is open your draft in a new Google Doc so everyone in your group can comment on the same draft. Then you will each choose one element to use as a lens through which you'll read and comment on your peers' essay drafts. By the end of the workshop, you will each have several different types of feedback to use in your own revision process. It's important to remember that you should be staying focused on your element as you read. Don't mark spelling or grammatical errors right now. This workshop is about considering how well the current structure and tone are working in each draft. So you can leave the minutia of editing and proofreading for the writer to do later. This is about the big picture of this essay. There are 2 steps for this workshop. For each draft that you read, you'll give smaller notes as you read, and you'll also give 2 specific kinds of feedback at the end. So as you read each draft, you should be focusing specifically on your chosen element and referring to the questions listed below. And if you do add a note as you're reading, include your element in it. So start your comment with air or fire, earth, water, whichever one you are, so that the writer knows which element you're referring to. And then after you read and have a holistic sense of this paper as a whole, again, in the color of your element, list the following. List 2 examples of where your element is working really well, where the writer is doing a good job of bringing that element to the surface, and 2 recommendations for how this writer could revise this paper for this element. So in a general sense, what are you noticing about this paper and how it's focusing on this element, and how could it be improved? Give them two ideas for how that they could work on that. The goal is to have, by the end of this workshop, several ideas for how each writer could strengthen their draft during revision. So they'll have 2 commendations about what they're doing really well already, and 2 recommendations for how they could strengthen their paper even more. Now I'll go over each of the elements specifically as they work in this peer review. The first element is water. So the water reviser is looking for the trajectory of this paper. How is it flowing from the beginning to the end? Just like a river flows for miles and finally arrives at the ocean, so an essay flows from introduction to conclusion, paragraph by paragraph. If you are the water reviser, you'll be studying this flow and commenting on the trajectory of the flow throughout the paper. Some questions that you might ask yourself if you're the water reviser. Does the intro paragraph give you enough information? Did you feel adrift at any point in the paper, like you were missing some necessary information? Does the conclusion paragraph feel satisfactory? Does the writer carry their main idea from paragraph to paragraph so that the ending feels natural? Does the conclusion feel connected to the introduction, while also asking the reader to continue thinking about this discussion? If you are the Earth reviser, you're looking at the core of this paper, the main ideas. The core idea of a piece of writing provides the foundation for structure, content, and tone. An Earth reviser studies this foundation and comments on the cracks that may be weakening the structure as a whole. So the Earth reviser is asking themselves these questions. What main topic or question is this writer grappling with? What is their so what? What is their reason for writing this paper? Is the main idea or the thesis, the main argument, clearly stated early on? Is the thesis mentioned specifically and or explored further in each supporting paragraph? Where did you feel like the writer could dig deeper? Did any paragraphs feel rushed, like the writer was skimming over that idea? The fire reviser is looking at language and word choice in this essay. Every draft has sections that resonate strongly and sections that are essentially dead wood. A fire reviser studies the writer's diction, word choice, and comments on where and how this piece could burn even more brightly. If you are the fire reviser, you're asking yourself, where is the writing particularly strong, clear, and concise? Where could the ideas be strengthened by more precise language or structure of ideas? Which sections were most engaging to you as you were reading? Which parts felt repetitive or uninteresting? What sections could be cut to make this argument or main idea stronger and clearer? Are there any paragraphs that feel unnecessary or too long? And lastly, if you are the air reviser, you're looking at the general flow of the paper, whereas the water reviser is looking at the introduction and the conclusion. The air reviser is looking at the transitions throughout the piece. Writing must flow smoothly and logically from idea to idea, paragraph to paragraph, in order for the reader to follow it. An air reviser studies these transitions and comments on the movement of ideas within and between paragraphs. Do the paragraph transitions feel natural and smooth? Do any feel awkward or sudden? Could the writer make better use of transitional phrases in their topic sentences to flow more smoothly from one idea into the next? Does every topic sentence, the first sentence of each paragraph, focus on one idea and tell you exactly what the paragraph is going to discuss? How does the general movement of ideas feel to you? Are there any paragraphs in which the ideas are perhaps not ordered correctly or logically? The air reviser could also consider paragraphs as a whole and whether they should be rearranged to make better sense in the paper. If possible, I like to choose one person to be the avatar in each group as well, because if I'm the water reviser in my group, I'll have feedback from the fire, air, and earth revisers, but I won't get any feedback about the water, the introduction conclusion in my paper, since I'm reading that for everyone else's drafts. So if you are able to have a fifth person in each group, they can be the avatar. And the avatar in the show is the master of all four elements. So this is a big responsibility, as you'll have to be navigating all four elements throughout the workshop. So if you do have an avatar, this person can be the water reviser for the water reviser's paper. Then when they look at the fire reviser's paper, they can be that person's fire commenter. So the avatar in each group will be switching between each element to make up for the missing element in each paper. This is an optional addition, because if you are reading for a certain element, you can also then read for that element when you go back through your own paper to revise it. But it can also be helpful to have an avatar who is actively reading for the missing elements in each paper. So that is the Avatar, the Last Reviser workshop, and I hope it goes well for you. Thanks for listening.